Well, hello there. It's been a little bit since I last went live. I last went live on February 16th before my mom came to visit, and it is now March 8th. So she has been gone for like a week or two now. But then, we're in Mercury retrograde and we had the eclipse portal and excuses, right? But also things are shifting. Like things are shifting. I suspect I'm not the only one feeling that, right? Um, One of the things that's shifting, right, is my schedule. And I'm trying to prepare for things in the future, get that set up um, to onboard more people, right? But in the moment, I'm trying to like also manage shifting schedules in this moment. And it's just like there's a lot of interesting things happening right now. Um, One of the shifts, right, is I had every intention, and this is like, side note, there's a part of me, right, the perfectionist that's like, I don't want to be showing people the process. Like, because it's not perfect. And like, you're showing the ways that you fail. And it's like, shift the mindset, right? Gene Key 32 comes to mind. Failure is the shadow. Off the top of my head, I don't recall the gift in the city. I want to say it's, let me look it up now because I want to get this like so that I can get the gene keys that I don't regularly work with top of mind as well. So bear with me, right? Watch as some of the cats come into frame. I've got Third Eye sitting in front of me, and then Valkyrie is kind of coming in a little bit. She just knocked the video. I'm getting distracted. Welcome to the sanctuary. Um, okay, what am I looking up? 32. Shadow failure. I was right. Oh, see, I need to learn to trust myself. The gift is preservation and the city is veneration. But anyway, point being, there's very much a part of me that's afraid of showing the process and also explaining the process and like diving into what I have perceived for myself as like failures. And a part of me is worried that like I'm going to be judged for by others as like, look at all the things that she tried, right? And none of them worked, right? That's the bro voice coming into play. Um, Chad comes to mind, but there's a lot of different bro voices and names that we could name them. Like, it's basically a frat house, right? Thank you, next. But anyway, when I started going live consistently or more consistently on Substack, part of it was obviously an experiment just to like show myself that I could do it, that it's not so scary, right? Um, and watching the replays has helped me in a lot of different ways, which I won't go into right now. But it's kind of like treating it like the gym, right? Like any habit, consistency helps the revolution. See the word plays here? It's so fun. Um, but I had every intention of going live on Wednesdays, right? And like this is how I kind of logicked my way into this, okay? Other people go live on Wednesdays because why? Wednesday is Mercury Day. It's all about communication, right? And that's all well and good. It's in the middle of the week, um, X, Y, and Z, et cetera, et cetera. But something that I found for me is like I really like having my Wednesdays be open so that if I need to take a call or I need to go somewhere I can, but otherwise like I can spend that day focused on like writing um or other forms of communication. Maybe I'm recording something. Like I said, maybe I'm writing something. Maybe I do end up having calls or meetings or presentations or like whatever, right? Whatever the case may be. Um, but what I noticed about having my intention be to go live on Wednesdays was, 1, it put a lot of pressure on me because, like, putting me into a box, right? Like, where I feel like I can't move, even if I'm the one that put me in the box, right? Which happens. My mind, like, I've got the 6124. Like, I could go so many places with that. Um, the voice in the back of my mind's like, "And you don't have 17." I'll have to come back to that, like, put a pin in it, right? Note to self, study up on 17, which I honestly should because there's somebody that is coming more within my orbit that has 17 in their chart, so I need to be more knowledgeable about that one. But anyway, I digress. Um, Something that I noticed about Wednesdays and going live there is, like, having the intention of going live, and typically, like, I wanted to wait until the evening, one, because, like, if people wanted to join after work, they could do that, but also it gave me time to have, like, a slow morning, to meet with people if I wanted to. Last month, I went to a coffee shop almost every Wednesday. Um, like, those were kind of the reasons, right? But there was something about it that just it didn't feel right, right? So, we're shifting. We're testing out Sundays for a few fun reasons. 1, the revolution. The icon is the Rev. I am not religious. I have a lot of religious trauma. I will admit that colors my perspectives. Like, I have to catch myself. It's something that I'm working on. But also, sometimes you gotta call a spade, right? Mountains and molehills comes to mind. Shovels and abuse. Hmm. Animal abuse, right? Can we not? Like, can we not, please? I don't beg, but we need to stop with the abuse. I'm just saying. That is not the soapbox that I'm getting onto right now. This isn't a soapbox. This is a couch, right? Back to the point, right? The Rev, live on Sundays. Given my history, I just think that that's, well, there's a lot of layers, right? And I, for one, really freaking love the layers in this. The tongue in cheek sass, right? Reclaiming power, taking my power back, all that jazz. Anyway, I digress. We're testing out Sundays and possibly obviously shifting things as needed. Um, Particularly, and this is one of the reasons why today, like today's been I've been in flow all day. Um, and part of me, full transparency, was like, I want to keep focusing on my other stuff. I don't want to go live right now. But I have the energy to go live. And I said I was going live even just to myself and one other person. So here I am. Um, I have a lot of stories. And I know I say that a lot and then I don't really share. But Part of it's because I had to move through a lot of the emotional baggage that I was holding on to. So that when I speak to these things, emotion may still come out, right? Bitterness might still show. But I needed to learn some lessons before bringing it forward, right? And I needed to make some connections and just like some of them, not even that. Some of them I just needed to study a bit more. Case studies, right? I'm intending not to talk a lot tonight, right? But once I get going, like I get going. So we'll see what happens. Um, I have a lot of personal stories around dating, which is really interesting. Um, and one of the reasons why I've been so hesitant to share my writing, but also to go live is because I'm trying not to name names. Like you can connect the dots and try to play along and figure out who's who, right? It's like a game, guess who, right? Or Clue, like whichever one you want. And there's a part of me, right, that knows that by inviting you in, by sharing the behind the scenes stories, the making of, there's a voice like, Emily, what are you making? Stay tuned to find out. It's gonna be fun. um, there's a part of me that's scared, right? Because I'm like, a lot of these stories are things that I've held on to, and I've never had the invitation to actually get closure with that person. Like, the door is closed. The conversation is not gonna happen, right? I'm not gonna initiate that. Call it a toxic behavior of mine, but, like, in some cases, I have reached out and offered an olive branch, but with other ones, I'm like, that is not my responsibility. I already took accountability. Tag, you're it, right? Hmm. Anyway, so there's times like this, right? Where I'm like, man, Emily, you're gonna show the people that you're just a petty little bitch, right? Like, some people are gonna think that, and I'm like, yeah, there are parts of me that are still stuck in, like, high school, middle school, right? I'm working on releasing her, and that's where it's fascinating, right? The connections between just so many things, but, like, some of the connections between, like, people that I had crushes on in middle school, high school, and then, like, people that I dated or was interested in later on in life is like, "Goddamn, Emily." Like, legitimately repeating cycles. Fascinating. Just in a different form. There are a lot of stories that I could talk to with that, but I'm not going to yet because restraint, right? Gene Key 52, which is my unconscious Jupiter placement that becomes your sphere of culture in the gene keys. Sphere of culture is part of the pearl sequence specifically, and also the star pearl. We'll get into that a bit more later on. But basically, the pearl sequence is a triangle with the pearl in the middle, almost like the eye, right? And then the star pearl, you add this over it. So you have the upright and the inverted triangles overlaid together, right? Some might call that the Star of David. Like you can plug and play whatever you want to, but that's what that is. Um, that's what a lot of people see at first, right? I see a lot of other things as well, but that's a different story, right? So the star pearl is adding the inverted triangle to it, which, just fun fact, are your unconscious Uranus, unconscious Saturn, and conscious Mercury placements. Sphere of creativity, stability, and relating. Just for fun. We'll dive into that more in a future container that's a little bit more formal than this, right? Anyway, um, there's part of me that wants to wait to release any personal stories until after Mercury retrograde, just because I'm like, you need to finish working through them, Emily, before you actually hit publish on anything. Um, Part of me is also like, including this live replay, but also, unless I look back on this and are like, or am like, Emily, no, you need to cut the cord, which, yes, I know. Fascinating. One thing that I was thinking I could talk about today, though, personal business. It's both, right? I met somebody last year, and the timing of it was fascinating. Like, we met, and it was a bit of a whirlwind blank, right? You could call it a romance, but I'm like, I don't. That's still one where it's like I could see where it could have gone either way. It probably could have gone both ways. That was probably his problem. He was very much like a, "I'm straight." I'm like, "Are you though?" Hmm. I'm just saying, sweetheart, like, the world is your oyster. Go play. We met during the eclipse portal last year, so, like, March 2025, and like, our first and only date, if you wanna call it that, was on the full moon. I have so many thoughts on that experience, and that's one where, like, I will fully be returning to, but this is just a teaser, right? Sorry, not sorry. Um, what was fascinating about that though, right? Because this was a person where I've never dated anybody that I've worked with. I've seen what happens when people do that, and it's messy as fuck, right? Unless there are clear, like, even then, like, just from my experience witnessing, I don't recommend it. Um, and this was one where, honestly, something that's been fascinating over the past few years, because I've been dabbling as a coach in, like, multiple industries. I've been learning about multiple industries. It's almost felt like whenever I meet somebody who also just happens to work in the industry that I'm coaching somebody in, it's like wires get crossed, and it's just like, this is why I'm a crazy childless cat lady. Like, I'm just saying that. But anyway, bring it back to the point, right? So self-critical. Um, Hi, Mo. He's coming into the frame, maybe. Are you gonna come? It was absolutely the voice in the back of my mind. And I'm sure you heard it too, right? If anything, it is Sunday, March 8th. It just turned 9:59 on the clock. So this is like late night television, right? Like it's rated E for Emily. The children should be in bed right now. Like I'm just saying, they should be sleeping or at least like in their rooms reading or like no screens, right? Like all that jazz. Anyway, what was I saying? Whirlwind romance. I don't date people who work in the same industry as me. But coaching has like just because now I meet people in all different industries, it's like sometimes my mind is like, Emily, it would be so much easier if you could just put yourself in a fucking box. But then I'm like, but it's a glass box and I need to break out of it, right? I need to break free, which ties into what I'm going to be talking about shortly. Who's meowing? That'll be interesting if this mic catches it. I just have it on my normal phone mic right now. Like I'm not fancy with that. I do have a mic. I should probably actually test it out. I've never even tested it. Like I'm not the tech person. Like I'm the hit record, let me speak, and then let me go to bed and play. And like oh gosh. Okay. This is late night television. I already said it. Anyway, okay. So I'm like trying to ground myself down, right? And it's funny, it's like it's not like I'm nervous or anything like that. I'm just like recognizing that I have a lot of energy right now. Like it feels like a lot for my little projector body, which is interesting because like does anybody else or did anybody else who learned that they were projectors or just are in human design, right? And learned about projectors. Whenever I think about that, I'm literally like, remember those old projectors in elementary school and like probably high school too? I'm sure that they still exist in some places, but where it was like a projector, where it was like the fancy thing with the arm and the light, and it's like you put the clear paper with the stuff on it. This is so technical. On the thing, the light shone down and like the mirror presented it onto the wall. Like that's me. But you could put like multiple layers of translucent paper and like you could add things on. I feel like I need that. Also, whiteboard. Like add it to the list. I have a glass whiteboard in my closet. I just don't know how to hang it up. Um, and I think I lost some stuff. It'll happen. It'll get put up. Like stay tuned. Renovations are going to start happening soon. I know I've been saying that for like a year, but delays, all that jazz. What was I saying? The date. It wasn't even the date, although I could look into that. Multiple dates. But we're saving that story until later, just for fun. The thing that comes to mind right now, though, is let me get straight on again. Shift. I don't want to be put into a box. I don't like being put into boxes. But also, like, when I dive into rabbit holes, I know I'm jumping analogies here. If I'm fascinated by something, I'm gonna talk a lot about it. And I had a moment of tension with a friend of mine recently. Another reason why, like, I've been kind of MIA, um, because I've been moving through a lot of shifts in relationships and, like, friendships particularly. And in this one, right, there was a moment of tension, and we came through the other side stronger than ever, right? But at one point, they said to me that sometimes it feels as if I'm speaking in a way or I'm using my intelligence as if I'm better than, right? And that's not my intention. There are some people, right? Read into the tone where I will play with that a bit. But when I'm speaking about things like in the moment, right? About gene keys and like human design, and I'm like, I connect the dots, like it's not that I'm speaking as if I'm better, like, "Oh, you don't understand these concepts, like, you don't get it." No, I know that how I work with things is very different. It's innovative. Like, I play in my Gene Key 3 a lot. That's my sphere of EQ in the Gene Keys, which is developed between the ages of 7-15. Okay, I have 3 in that sphere. The shadow of that is chaos. The gift in the city are innovation and innocence. My pearl is 62 though. And what's interesting, right, is like this is me connecting the dots, right? So I'm very much in the moment here. Kind of play along, right? See if you can visualize it or like connect the dots as I'm playing with it, right? So like 3 is right here. That's my EQ. Then you've got right here is in the Venus sequence, your sphere of SQ minus 55.5. That sits right in the middle of the breakthrough pathway, which connects your sphere of evolution, um, your conscious earth, to your unconscious sun, which is your sphere of radiance. Okay. The pearl and the star pearl sequence, though, star pearl in particular. So, correction there, right? The sphere of stability is technically right behind the SQ. Sphere of stability, like if you shift the hologram, that's the side. Okay, come back to that, right? We're developing stuff right now. Um, Shift it, make it 3D, right? So that way now the line comes this way, the breakthrough pathway, and on either side you've got freedom, stability. My mind, I'm not going to share that. Um, that then shoots up because you would get on that individuation line, which would connect the pearl. Okay, that's interesting. This got away from me. Um, There's the voice in the back of my mind. Actually, interesting because I was on a call earlier this week with somebody who said something along the lines of, like, when I'm explaining things sometimes, it's like I'm building up to this beautiful crescendo, and then all of a sudden it just, like, cuts off. It's like I choke, right? And what's fascinating about that is I think it's very much because, like, I'm in the moment, I'm explaining things, and then there's a voice in the back of my mind that's like, "People are lost. They're not following," right? "You sound stupid," right? Very critical, and it, like, makes me shut down. It's fascinating. But anyway, okay, where was I going with that? I play a lot with these systems, and when I get fascinated by things, like, I talk about them a lot. It's how I process. I'm a self-projected projector, right? If you and I speak you, like, just generically, right? And this doesn't just apply to me. If I don't feel safe enough to speak about the things I'm fascinated by with somebody, I don't speak. I'll listen. I'll add some input every now and then. But then particularly, and this is where it connects back to the individual who has a code name, but I'm not gonna drop it just yet. Almost like a dog with a bone, right? What rhymes with bone? Sing it in A minor. Anyway, we were on a call once, right? And remember, I mentioned it at the beginning of the story or somewhere in this story, right? This is what happens when I go live. It's like I have an idea of what I might talk about. Sometimes I make it there, sometimes I don't, but like we weave in and out of things. That's where my 56 comes into play. And what am I doing, Emily? You're refining things so that one day you can put it in a book, right? Anyway, or a song, or both, right? Both and. Anyway, there's so many things happening. Um, we were on a call and we didn't live close to each other. So it was long distance. So we were on a call and he was talking about things and I was letting him talk. He was talking about what he was moving through with work and like things he was learning and et cetera, et cetera. And after probably what felt like a good 30 to 40 minutes, right? He turned to me, like we weren't on a video call, it was purely voice, and was like, "How are you? Right? What are you moving through? What's on your mind?" And I started talking, and I don't remember what exactly I was talking about, but I started to bring human design into it, and the way that this man snapped. He said, "Fuck human design." And then he went off on a tangent that I honestly didn't pay a whole lot of attention to. By that point, I was like, "Okay, well, that was that was the final straw. Like, I'm good. Thank you. Next." That wasn't the last time that we spoke, but again, that's a story for another time. But what I find hilarious about all of this and the way that I'm connecting things now, particularly with what is moving in my life in the moment, is as I said, both of us were kind of in the same industry, but not, which is why I say, right, like the blurred lines with like not dating people within my industry. Technically, he wasn't, but also like I could very well see how one day that will not be the case anymore, right? And that I think is something that both of us were grappling with at the same time, right? Like there's a lot of layers to this. I know that this is just my side of the story, right? And it's just one part of the story. Lots of things to this. But the fact that he said that when I'm like, this is going to be the thing that changes a lot of things, and not just for me. There are times when I'm like, I wonder if he regrets that. Not to sound egotistic, right? But I wonder if he knows what and who he fumbled, right? Football reference. And then there are moments as well, right? Where I'm like, he might see this and you and be like, thank fuck I fumbled, right? She's a crazy childless cat lady. I want nothing to do with her. It's fascinating. And the thing that I love about this, right, is this is a situation where I'm sure I'm going to run into this person at some point in my life. Would not be surprised. I think one of the reasons why this is kind of top of mind right now is like I have the opportunity um soon to speak with the person I went on my first ever date with. It was a disaster. Like, ugh. And I haven't thought about it a whole lot. Like I've told some people like little parts, but I haven't actually contemplated it much. So it's like, and especially not now, right? Given where I am today. It's looking back on my relationships is fascinating. It really is. Because obviously, like, I'm not a victim and I'm not blaming the others. I know that my behavior contributed to things. But it's fascinating because I'm like, some of the things that I think turned people off about me are like, you didn't even look beneath the covers. And I don't mean like beneath the bed covers, right? Like, that's not what I mean. I'm like, look at me like a book. You judged a book by its cover. You didn't open it up to see what's inside. Sometimes I use the analogy that I'm kind of like Tom Riddle's diary. It's just like part of me is like, does that make me Voldemort? Like, oh no. Like, I don't want to be the villain. but also, like, playing the villain sometimes, like I'm not gonna say it's fun, but you're gonna be the villain in some people's stories, like, you might as well just embrace that and, like, run with it, right? But, like, it's just, like, a normal book, normal-looking book, nothing to write home about, right? And then you open it up and it's just a bunch of blank pages, like, oh, that's boring," right? Like or to some people, "Cool, blank blank spaces, you can do whatever you want with it," right? But then you start writing, you ask a question, "Ask and you shall receive." You get an answer, right? It's like, "I'm a genie in a bottle, baby." That comes to mind. There's just so many things. There's a voice in the back of my head right now that's like, "Emily, you're either gonna watch this back and think that it's as chaotic as it kind of feels right now, or you're gonna watch it back and be like, you know what? You connected the dots beautifully. You colored outside of the lines, right? Who's in control right now? My inner child? Just playing, right? Creating. Hmm. There's very much a part of me that's like, Emily, you should wrap this up neatly. Bring it back to some kind of collective point, right? Something to part of me is like, sell the people on. But I'm like, I don't want this to be about sales, right? I want this to be about you getting to know me as a person. I think some of the lives moving forward will definitely be more planned, and those some of them will likely be more like Zoom calls, right? Where I've got an actual presentation or like something to kind of keep me on track, right? But also, you're gonna see a lot of me. Like, I'm not going anywhere. I think that there's something really beautiful and immensely valuable, as uncomfortable as it might be for me and maybe some of you, right? To see me like this, just like talking randomly about my experiences, my life, all of the things, because you deserve to know who I am, who I was, who I'm becoming. You deserve to know who you're choosing to follow, right? And that's not to say that I'm gonna share everything about my life. That's not to say that I'm gonna let you into like the really inner, deep, personal layers of my life. That's not to say that I won't, but like all in due time, right? I told somebody recently I'm an open book, and I know that I've wove that in here today. But I am. I'm an open book. I'm not used to people opening my book. Don't make it dirty. um, which is actually kind of interesting because it makes me think of something that I told someone after recording which episode was it? It was season 2 with Crystal Thompson. So I think it was episode 4 of The Glass Box, season 2. I thought this after we recorded, like right after. And I'm sure in hindsight, I probably thought it in some other episodes as well. But there was a moment in that episode where Crystal turned the spotlight onto me and asked me to expand on something. And I did, but I wasn't prepared for it. So one of the reasons why it took me, 3 months after recording that to post it was because, one, I didn't re-listen to it until then. And there was a part of me that thought that I explained it very poorly and that I probably sounded like a fucking idiot. And I didn't want to share that. But then when I watched it back, I'm like, okay, that wasn't so bad, Emily. Like, you need to be a bit more compassionate to yourself, right? So I've been working on that. But when people turn the questions onto me, like, I'm not always used to that. And sometimes, like, I'm sure a lot of you will probably resonate with this. There's a part of me that when people ask me questions, it almost feels like an attack. Which is interesting then because, like, look at it from human design perspective. Like, not just, like, this doesn't just need to be human design. I'm sure this is something that people will resonate regardless of human design. But it hits a little bit differently for self-projected projectors, right? Because it makes me think about when my voice was questioned growing up, right? And in many ways, I understand why that happened because it's like, my voice is my authority. It's mine. It's not yours. So flip that mindset, right? Like, instead of thinking that people were questioning my authority and therefore me and my identity, because my authority comes from my G center, right? Sometimes I look at it more of like, they weren't necessarily questioning you or your truth, Emily. It was more about whether or not that truth was right for them. Interesting. Anyway, there's a lot of ways that I want to go with this. And I feel like I very easily could. But I think I've been talking for about an hour. And I said I wanted to try to keep this one short. My battery's getting low, and I do have another call after this. So I'm going to wrap this one up here. And I'll come back to things as I do, right? 6124 channel, it's going to happen. Invitation, though, for you, if you have questions or topics of conversation or whatever characters, right, that you want. That's what else I was going to say, me to return to. Bring it back, though. I'm going to touch on this multiple times, I'm sure. Back when I first started getting into human design and the Gene Keys, I made the connection of how, like, it was basically like a blueprint for if we're in a simulation and we're in a video game, like, you are a character in a game. Human design is the instruction manual for your character, right? The Gene Keys is almost like the journey that you're going to go through, what you have to unlock to reach different levels. I had a mentor once made a comment about how, like, you may not want that to be the only way that you describe things because not everyone's going to connect to that. And so I stopped really using it at all. And that was shame on me, right? Some of the cats. That was Sequoia and Oakley running around, right? California trees comes to mind. But yeah, it's fascinating how it's literally like you're studying a character, yourself, and other people, other players in the game, right? And to think, somebody once told me, fuck human design. Hmm. That connection ties things up in a neat little bow. So, we're going to wrap this one up here. I will go live again next Sunday. I'm going to hold myself accountable, right? And we'll see if I do more than that because, like I said, I've got a lot of stories and I feel like I'm ready to start sharing them. So, we'll see how I end up going about that. Some of them obviously will be recorded. I do have some audio only recordings that are in the queue. And then I have like a bazillion journals where I could literally just like flip through them and start sharing things. But I'm also like, there's a lot of things that I need to move through, which makes me think I need to talk about the writing blocks. But that's a different live, right? Like I've already talked for an hour. I already made excuses. I need to wrap this one up. I also need to work on my closings. So, like I said, wrapping this up here. Invitation to ask questions, submit requests for topics of conversation if you have any, et cetera, et cetera. Generic sales pitch stuff, right? If you want to work with me, one-on-one coaching, the Spark, mentorship, the Edge. Those are the main two right now. I do offer trainings, public speaking, corporate events. Check out the page for the Edge because it kind of goes over a little bit. And like, if you have questions, send me an email. hello@emilyscase.com. Don't forget the S. Is there anything else to make note of? I do have a GoFundMe. I will admit I'm kind of afraid to start promoting that for a variety of reasons. Because what if it fails, right? But it won't. So, check it out. And if you can, any donation is appreciated. Send me questions if you have them. With love, Kai. Just kidding. You know who I am.